Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Anthony Kraus, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Cassiar Gold Corp. Please note, you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Marco Roque, President and CEO of Cassiar Gold Corp, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol CGLCF and on the TSXV under the symbol GLDC. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you, Anthony, and thanks everyone for that has tuned in to watch this presentation. My name is Marco Roque. I'm the President and CEO of Cassiar Gold, and Cassiar Gold really represents a very, very unique and undervalued opportunity in the gold mining exploration space, which, as we all know, gold has been making all-time highs, and it's really timely to be able to present this opportunity to all of you. And I encourage you to follow this presentation, and of course submit any questions that you may have. And also, if you like, join for meetings over the next few days. So just before I start, I would just like to bring your attention to the disclaimer and the forward-looking statements that I will be making today. And really, before I get into the projects, I really wanted to highlight one of the many things that really makes our company unique, which is our team. Myself, I'm Portuguese, born and raised. I started my career in banking, spent several years at Barclays, then I did my MBA between London Business School and Hong Kong UST, and I've been investing and advising in this space for over a decade. And I'm really proud to be surrounded with some really seriously successful people in this space. Our chairman is Steve Ledwin. He was a former president and CEO of IM Gold, and he's extremely involved. Steve Robertson is a geologist. He was in charge of permitting and developing the Red Chris mine, which is actually a couple of 100 kilometers away from us as well. A very relevant experience. We have James Maxwell as our board member as well. He was the exploration director for Sabina. That project got acquired, or that company got acquired for $1.2 billion by B2 Gold. We have mining engineer Chris Stewart, also lots of experience. Jill Maxwell, our VP of exploration. In addition to having worked in the Sabina team, she also worked for North America Palladium, that was acquired also for over $1 billion. And we also have as our chief technical advisor, David Rees. He's one of the most sought after and most respected structural geologists in orogenic gold systems, which is the type of systems that we have. So, we're in very, very good company. In addition to the team, we also have a really good roster of shareholders. You can see, in terms of US, we have EMA, Larry Lepard. We have funds like Mermican. We also have funds like US Global Investors, as well as several well-known Canadian funds, Crescat Capital out of the US as well, but also institutional funds from all over the world, from Europe, from Australia, from Asia. That really, we've been building this institutional shareholder base from 0 to almost 30% in the last few years. And also insiders own a significant chunk of the company with just over 12%. And insiders come into every single private placement. Myself, in the last few months, I've invested nearly $500,000 into this company personally. So as our chairman and the rest of the board and management, continuously invest into this company as well. So do take note of that as we go through the presentation. Just to give you a sense, we have 126 million shares outstanding as we speak. That's a very attractive market cap valuation at roughly 29 cents. That's a 36 million market cap. We have roughly 9 million in the bank. We have very good analyst and newsletter coverage as well. This really represents a very exciting opportunity to join where we are right now as well. So just to give you, the kind of the 30,000 foot view of what Cassiar Gold is. Cassiar Gold looks like a very exciting mining development opportunity, but in fact is really an even more exciting exploration project And the reason for that is because it's a fast-producing district. It comes with a wealth of infrastructure. We have a fully owned and permitted mill, great access, mine permits already in place, was extremely valuable, underground workings, portals, tailings facilities, you name it. In addition to that, we have quite an exciting existing resource already. We have the Taurus deposit, Taurus resource, 1.4 million ounces at 1.14 grams per ton inferred. As of early 2022, we have drilled, quite a bit, over 40,000 meters across the project since that resource. So we continue to expand that deposit as we speak. And we also have the potential not only to continue to significantly increase that deposit, but also to define other targets that might be similar in nature to the Taurus deposits, so kind of sister open pitable deposits, as well as several high-grade underground veins where most of the historical production has come from. We have a great team that can really move along this project that has basically discovered, built, operated, and sold mines all over the world. I went through some of their profiles, and you can find more on our website as well, in our marketing materials. And we also are very lucky. We have a very supportive community and First Nation partners, and Indigenous support as well. And we abide by the highest environmental standards. And as I mentioned, we have a very attractive market cap right now. We've kind of been a victim of the bear market in the gold mining space for the last 2.5 years, as most of the industry, and that's really creating an opportunity. And just to give you a sense of our strategy, our goal really is to significantly increase basically the resource size of this project, really prove it up, and we have a lot of exploration potential. And our goal, our main strategy, is to sell this to a producing company, like other companies have done, like Great Bear. They sold, I think, for $1.8 billion. But having said that, because we have so much infrastructure, the right team, mine permits, we can really leverage on that and potentially build it ourselves as well. So it really puts us in a very unique position compared to most of the other projects around the world. Just to start off now with a little bit of geology in terms of where we are and why are our projects so prospective. So we have two orogenic gold districts, the Cassiar Gold District in northern British Columbia in Canada, in Western Canada, and also the Sheep Creek District in southern Canada, in southern British Columbia, also in Western Canada. And that's actually part of the British Columbia's inland orogenic gold belts. Orogenic gold systems tend to be big, long-lived, pervasive, like you see in the Abitibi or West Africa Shield or Western Australia, and the inland orogenic gold belt in BC is quite underexplored. There's a lot of potential, and we're right on that neighborhood. So we're definitely on the right geological setting, and that's very important. And again, just to remind these districts tend to be very, very big, and that's actually where most of the gold production around the world comes from. So that's to say we are in the right type of rocks. Kind of zooming into the two districts and kind of the neighborhood of where we are, we're not only in the right type of rocks, but also in the right address. BC has been, British Columbia, BC has been attracting global miners. So we're really surrounded by some of the biggest companies in the space, including Newmont, that has that Red Chris asset just 200 kilometers south of us, along Highway 37. And they also, which they acquired 70% for over $1 billion. And also the Brucejack project that got acquired Pretium for over $3.5 billion, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So the two districts that we have Cassiar Gold, we're 100% focused. That's in northern BC. As I mentioned, 200 kilometers north of the Red Chris mine and roughly 100 kilometers south of the Yukon BC border. And our secondary project, Sheep Creek, is also quite prospective in southern BC. It has produced until 1951 750,000 ounce at nearly 15 grams per ton. So very, very prospective, in a great asset to have as a secondary project as well. In terms of access and infrastructure, it really doesn't get much better than this. As I mentioned, we have Highway 37 kind of bisecting our property coming from the south, which is the main highway that connects British Columbia to the Yukon. So We can see the picture there on the bottom right of Provincial Highway 37, all year road. And then we also, peeling off Highway 37, there's a paved road, a Cassiar paved road that literally goes over the Taurus deposit and into the 1.2 kilometer long Cassiar airstrip. That is not necessary, but it's a good to have, and can make site visits quite easy, because you can land kind of small planes there. Although we use the provincial highway for everything that we need, including moving people in and out as well. The other thing that's worthwhile mentioning is the topography. We have quite a nice topography. We don't have very steep mountains or glaciers going through our project. That means it's relatively easy to operate. We have gentle rolling hills. It is really an ideal scenario to have, really a big mining district, which is what we're looking to prove up here. A few other things that are worthwhile mentioning: we have 17 historical portals, 25 kilometers of underground workings, power lines connecting to most of the portals. We have a fully owned and permitted 300 ton per day mill, specifically well designed for the high grade underground veins that we have at Cassiar South, as well as a core shack and several tailings facilities with capacity, as well as 160 kilometers of property access roads that allow us to get to most of our exploration targets easily and inexpensively, as well as a 48-person camp with access to grid power and water. So the replacement value of that infrastructure is probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars. By the way, when I mention dollars in this presentation, I'm always referring to Canadian dollars. And that's really good to have, especially when you consider the market cap. The other thing that I mentioned that is really valuable is the mine permits. Mine permits are not easy to get. We have 2 Mines Act permits already in place. We have the Taurus gold mine permits, 1.2 square kilometers, which is here in red, and it's overlapped by the footprint of the Taurus deposit that you see in yellow. And that's basically covering most of the resource, as well as 2 tailings facilities. And then we have the Table Mountain Cassiar South mine permit, which is in orange, roughly 20 square kilometers. And that's where we have the mill, 2 tailings facilities, and most of the infrastructure and that supports our Cassiar South high-grade underground veins. You can see a picture of the mill there as well. So moving into next slide, this is really a depiction of the 15-kilometer trend that is north-south that goes through our project. Our project is 59,000 hectares, 25 kilometers by 27 kilometers contiguous land package. It's really a massive district. And so far, we already have a 15-kilometer trend north-south. That's kind of the main plumbing system into our district. So this is a long section looking west. So more or less through the middle is where the Highway 37 runs through. To the right is Cassiar North, where we have most of the bulk tonnage open pitable targets, like the Taurus deposit, where we hold 1.4 million ounces from at 1.14 grams per ton inferred from early 2022, which is wide open for expansion, which we've been expanding laterally at depth internal to the pit shell, as well as several other targets that could be similar to Taurus, like Lucky's, Snow Creek, Wings Canyon, Taurus East, Elan, or New Coast, just to name a few. And then to the left, we have the Cassiar South high-grade underground shear veins. These are 3-meter wide shear veins that are running 10 to 20 grams per ton, which is quite exciting, very, very high grade there, which we've also been extending over the past few years as well. So it's a really ideal situation, and with a lot of exploration potential, given that we're basically just starting to scratch the surface. So to give you a sense on where we have exploration potential here, you can see the map here there with the mine permit on the right, with 15 of our 17 historical portals there. That's the Cassiar South Table Mountain mine permits. In black, you have the underground workings. In red, the known high-grade veins. You can also see the table on the left, the historical production, 315,000 ounces, very high grades. You see 150,000 ounces produced at the main mine, 17 grams, or 90,000 ounces at TSXV at over 20 grams per ton. So we have 4 main vein systems: main mine, Volog, TSXV, and Bain. And these are east-west trending shear veins, again, on average 3 meters wide, which are open for expansion laterally along strike and down dip as well. So quite a bit of room to keep on extending both to the east as well as to the west. And also periodicity suggests that every 400 to 600 meters there's a potential for a parallel vein system. Just in between Cusack and Maine, there's a 2 kilometer gap that could host multiple parallel veins. So there's a potential for more repetition of known veins, and also like a layer cake into the earth. There's potential for several layers of mineralization, in that we know that because at the minimum there's at least 3 levels. So there's quite a bit of exploration potential here at Cassiar South, which is quite high grade. And this slide here shows some of the examples of, or some of the highlights of the drilling we've been doing at the Cassiar South area. So a few examples are 4.8 meters at 35 grams per ton, 3 meters at 25.7 grams per ton, 2.2 meters at 32.95 grams per ton. These are nice widths, very, very nice grades. And we also had, interestingly, here at the Cassiar South, an intercept of 237 meters at 0.69 grams per ton, the northernmost hole at the Cassiar South area, basically the one closest to New Coast and Torres. Or just 5 kilometers south of Torres, which looks like a bulk tonnage intercept, but it's quite exciting to see that width and grade. We'll have to in the future follow up here. So there's definitely quite a bit of potential here, both high grade as well, potentially bulk tonnage as well at the Cassiar South. Other than that, we also have the Torres deposit, which is kind of the backbone of our company in a way, in our valuation. It's almost 38 million tons using a cutoff grade of 0.5, which is arguably quite high when you look at other projects out there. They're dropping their cutoff grade significantly, but that yields just 1.4 million ounces at 1.14 grams per ton. This deposit is a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer footprint, which is wide open for expansion laterally and at depth, as well as internal to the pit shell. This is a pit constrained resource. It's right at surface. There's on average 10 meters of overburden. 90% of the 1.4 million ounces occur within 150 meters from surface as well. So it's very, very shallow and again, open for expansion. Also worthwhile mentioning, there are 35,000 ounces produced there historically in the 80s. That gives a lot of comfort into recoveries in the production scenario as well, which is really good to see as well. These are some of the mineralization styles that we see at Torres. We have very thin veinlet systems that are at centimeter scale, as well as pyrite envelopes. Typically, when you have these overlapping cells, that's when you see these corridors of higher grade. That sometimes could be 2, 3, 4, 5 grams per ton, although the resource is 1.14 grams per ton. But this can create some corridors of higher grade, which is quite nice to see in the bulk tonnage deposit. This slide shows actually some of the drilling that we've been doing. In pink, you have the resource footprint, and in black, the pit outline. We've been expanding to the south. We've been doing quite a bit of drilling on the footprint of the pit constraint deposit as well, in some gaps where there's very little drilling or no drilling actually. We've been extending very, very successfully. We've also been drilling in other areas like Torres East, which is roughly 700 meters to the east of Torres, which is on that orange area there, or Wings Canyon, which is roughly 600, 700 meters to the southeast of Torres. And you can see the grades there on the right, quite good intercepts with really nice grade, which is really what you want to see. So we've really been delivering in terms of the results, and this project is growing. I'll skip this slide here. So other than the Torres deposit, which we've been expanding in these really nearby targets, Wings Canyon and Torres East, that have the potential to connect with Torres, we've been drilling some quite exciting new targets. We've drilled Lucky, which is 4 kilometers to the northwest. We intercepted gold-bearing quartz veins there. Last year, we also drilled for the first time New Coast, 2.5 kilometers south of Torres. We drilled 6 holes there, and all came back mineralized. The highlight there was 95 meters at 0.9 grams per ton, which is quite exciting. They're all kind of sparsely drilled, so it looks like there might be a potential for New Coast to start emerging as a potential analog to Torres. And again, that's on that 15 kilometer trend that is north-south, that goes south and New Coast, 2.5 kilometers south of New Coast. That's where we had that main mine intercept that's kind of long as well, and over 230 meters there. So it's quite exciting to see that as well. Other than these two targets, we also have another target that is quite exciting, Snow Creek. It's roughly 3 kilometers to the east of Taurus. You can see the picture there on the bottom right. There's a geo there for kind of scale. And what's exciting about Snow Creek is you basically have outcropping of mineralization because you get into the alpine, and you get off the tree cover, and you see exactly the same styles of mineralization you see at Taurus. So a lot of similarities there. It's a long strike from the valent systems that we also see at quite the potential, not only of Snow Creek to as its own in its own right to be an exciting target, but the connection between Taurus and Snow Creek, which can potentially yield a monster there, and that's certainly what we're hoping for. But we need to drill and confirm. So in order to further understand that corridor, one thing we did last year, and we're actually following up this year, is both a soil grid survey, which is the yellow dots, 50-meter interval stations, roughly 3 square kilometers, so the 3 times the footprint of Taurus, from Taurus all the way to Snow Creek. We also did an IP survey, geophysical survey, covering the Taurus deposit and into the Snow Creek area for roughly 12 square kilometers. That really could give you some really cool indications of what we're seeing, and the results were really fantastic. We had soil grid surveys full with anomalous gold across the grid. You can see on these dots here with the color codes, and also the geophysics that's underneath it, where you can see Taurus as well as the other areas, and that gives us a lot of confidence into these targets. So these are targets that we're currently advancing. The other thing that is worthwhile mentioning is we did quite a bit of a mapping exercise around this area centered around Taurus. Taurus is here in pink in the middle of the screen, and you see maybe 5, 6, 7% of our land package here. But just in this area, you have Taurus, you have Snow Creek a few kilometers to the east. We have New Coast 2.5 kilometers south. That looks like it might be another Taurus there. Now we've extended the New Coast corridor for 3 kilometers, so it's getting bigger. We have new targets like Hopeful or Auroch, where we have outcropping mineralization, where we collected grab samples, showing really nice grades. So, really we're starting to better understand the system, and the potential and the size of these targets is getting bigger and bigger. And we're also drilling them to follow up there. So we're really seeing what we want to see, and this is quite exciting to see as a company. Worthwhile mentioning as well, we have, as I mentioned in the beginning, we have a very supportive community and indigenous partners. We provide training opportunities, employment opportunities. We abide by the highest environmental standards. We support the local economy as well, and we also provide annual sustainability and ESG scorecards just to really emphasize our transparency, and that we abide by the highest standards as well. And it is something we're really, really proud of as a company as well. So just in terms of news flow, we're currently drilling. So any drill hole can bring a surprise, especially when you're such an undervalued point. So we do expect drill results to come maybe between the late August, early September. So do stay tuned for that. Maybe even before that. We're also doing geological and geochemical domaining work. The results will probably trickle until the end of December. We'll see. And there might be a possibility of, after this drill campaign, to see a resource update and further good news. So do stay tuned. Because it's going to be heavy news flow over the next few months. So just to recap here, the company, we have lots of infrastructure and mine permits already in place. The replacement value of this is invaluable. It's hundreds of millions of dollars if we want to replicate that today. We have a good resource base, 1.4 million ounces as of early 2022. We've been expanding that, and it will continue to expand. We want to define a world-class district here. We have lots of opportunity to continue to expand and grow, and also opportunity for discovery here. We have a team that has done it before. We are well supported. We have the social license. We abide by the highest environmental standards, and we're very, very attractively valued. And we're in a moment where gold price is really hitting new all-time highs. The gold miners have been a little bit forgotten, especially the juniors, which we are part of. So I do invite everyone to ask questions, and the ones that can also schedule calls or just feel free to reach out to find more about the project. And I guess maybe now we can move into some Q&A. All right, sorry, just making this questions a little bit bigger. All right, so I have first question here. Near-term catalysts. Yeah, I just mentioned that at the end of the call. So we have news flow coming from the drilling. We're currently budgeted to drill 5,000 meters, potentially more. So do stay tuned for that. There's quite a bit of news flow that will come from the drilling. We're also going to be expanding our IP coverage, as well as soil grid surveys to that new coast corridor, that 3-kilometer corridor that seems to be emerging, and it might have some parallels with the Taurus to Snow Creek corridor. So that's quite a bit of new flow, geophysics, mapping and sampling, soil grid surveys, as well as drilling. And that's probably going to start to trickle in a few weeks and probably into the new year as well. So that's done. Next question. How much capital has been raised since inception? Well, this company has had many lives in the past, as well as the project. The project, I guess, you received hundreds and hundreds of inflation-adjusted capital over the decades. Starting in the gold rush that started here in the late 1800s, all the way to today, including all the historical production this project has seen, and also the company in its previous life. I guess maybe I'll answer something that's more relevant. We've raised, in the last 4 years, since 2020, as I took over as CEO, when we basically completed the acquisition of this asset and really started drilling it. We've drilled in total roughly 55,000 meters, excluding this year, and we raised, believe around $35 million as a company ourselves. The previous operator in the previous 8 years has basically similar amounts, and we're significantly advancing this project. So I guess hopefully that answered that question. What was the past production at your Taurus property, and why was production stopped in 2007? So Taurus produced in the 80s, not in 2007. There were 35,000 ounces produced, and was in a gravity flotation mill similar to the one you have, but it was a different one. So it really didn't stop in 2007. It was in the 80s, actually, when there was production. I think the grades at the time were quite low. Remember, gold price was hovering maybe $100, $200 back then. There was the production on the high grade underground veins was longer, and the last time it produced was in 2007. But the grades there were significantly higher. So you saw production in the 80s and the 90s, and basically until the late 2000s. This project was all broken up with several companies owning different mines, different exploration grounds, placer miners. So it was the whole district was only amalgamated in the late 2000s, where it became under one single ownership, and that's when it had the potential to be looked at truly as a district scale, which it is. We're very, very blessed and lucky to have really such an exciting project in our hands. Another question that we have is, do we have an all-in sustaining for Taurus? No, we don't have any economic studies as of now, but I would encourage you to maybe look at other companies. Grade is a good approximation of the cost obviously is not the only factor. There are many factors that you should take in consideration. But when you compare the Cassiar Gold Project's grade with a lot of other projects out there, we have quite an exciting grade. You add that to the fact that is at surface, the bulk tonnage open pit deposit, or the high grade veins that are accessible with the underground workings, with all that infrastructure already there, with the access, with the permits, with the mill, with the social license, with everything that we have going for us with our team. It's quite a unique position to be, and I can't comment on the exact potential cost, but it's certainly a project that I would, myself or the chairman, would have put almost $500,000 each in the last few months if we really didn't believe the potential of it. And but if you like to find out more and maybe compare some notes on comparable projects, I'm also more than happy to jump on the call and kind of dive further into it. I guess we got to the end of the 30 minutes. I'm not sure if we have time for anything else. There you go. I guess that wraps it up. You can find our contacts here. Feel free to reach out. Feel free to schedule calls over the next couple of days. There's still a few slots available. And if that doesn't work, happy to jump on a call at a time that any of you might be interested to find more about the project, the team, and really our prospects for our future as well. So again, thanks everyone for listening.